and I can never dream again. And I can never hold another in my heart, and I know it's time to go.
Believe it or not, that was recorded on a Sigma 000m-18, or if you're in the US, it's an AMI 000m-18, and it retails for around about $750 here in Australia. I bought it a couple of weeks ago because I needed a kick-around guitar, something I could take places and not worry about. It's modelled off the Martin 000m-18, which retails for about $4,000 to $6,000 depending on the trimmings. I already own a Martin 000C16 GTE, a really long name, and that was the first premium guitar I'd ever bought, but it's more of a relic these days. About 12 years ago I dropped it at a gig and the headstock cracked really badly. It was a mahogany neck. It still stayed in tune and it was more than playable. I didn't even notice until a few weeks later someone pointed it out to me. I had it repaired, but that only lasted a few years, then it cracked again, and after having kids, the guitar has additional cracks and dings and a few other things, and so it still plays really well, but I've retired it because it holds a lot of sentimental value, so I aim to preserve it as best I can. This Sigma was a demo guitar, and it's obvious it wasn't looked after very well. The fretboard was dirty, the frets were tarnished from exposure to moisture, and the frets were still quite gritty from the factory. Regardless, the body is in really good condition and I got it for less than 50% its value, so score. It has a solid Sitka spruce top with a laminate mahogany back and sides and a mahogany neck with a satin finish. I'm not normally a fan of laminate body guitars. They generally don't resonate well and lack dynamic range. However, for this price, this guitar sounds really good and it's definitely playable. The fretboard is made of micarta. Interestingly, micarta is typically made from strips of fabric or thick paper, layered with a type of hardened resin. It's apparently more resilient than wood, but it looks the same, albeit uninteresting because it doesn't have a grain. The saddle and nut are made of bone, and it's obvious because the guitar has stable tuning and strings up really well. The tuners are open back with butterbean knobs, which adds a nice vintage look. The body is finished in high gloss with aging toner and is really pleasing. The first thing I did when I bought it home was to give it a clean and throw on some new strings. This is what you're watching right now. I also researched it a little and discovered that Sigma was actually established by C.F. Martin in Japan back in the 1970s, and I didn't really know this, but they did it to counter the emergence of Asian-made knockoffs. They sold off the company about a decade later, and it has transferred hands several times since. And it's currently owned by AMI, a German company, and the guitars are made in China. It's obvious they have good quality control processes. There's very little wrong with this guitar, and the only thing that I noticed was that the high E string bridge peg didn't fit flush, but it doesn't affect the tuning and you could always route it out. Overall, it is a stable and well-constructed guitar. It's also worth noting that Sigma make solid body guitars for a range of budgets and many iconic styles. And reflecting on this, the making of budget-friendly guitars in iconic big brand name styles has become a tradition in itself, and I guess Sigma is a stayer because they make good quality replicas. No guitar is perfect. Even expensive guitars have their quirks. You can record and perform with anything as long as it stays in tune and it is built well enough to withstand the road. In fact, after playing around with this for a while, I really like playing it, and I realized that it's even good for recording. The recording you heard earlier had some typical processing, including gentle EQ, compression to even things out, and a bit of reverb. I did record it in stereo XY position, so that's why it sounds wider than it normally would if you were to record with just a single microphone. Overall, I would highly recommend buying a Sigma Standard Series or above. They're great value for money and I think will serve you well. With a few minor tweaks, these guitars sound and play really, really great if you're a novice or a pro. I hope you enjoyed this review of the Sigma 000m-18, and if you did like this video, please like and subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Thank you.